I'll just say that when we started the session out back in January, I had high hope. I really did. And I can remember the governor speaking. I remember about bipartisan cooperation. That's what it's going to take to fix the state of Illinois. I remember the speaker inviting the Republicans back to active participation in state government. I was very pleased to hear that, because that's what we do. We work hard. We're going to work with the majority party on every issue, no matter what it's going to take. We don't care how long it'll take either. So I have an article that I've penned, which will go out very soon. It's my local newspaper. It's called Bringing Sanity Back to State Government. So I made a statement on the floor about a week and a half ago about the insane process that's going on with this, the budgeting in Illinois and passing a $4 billion unbalanced budget. But that's really, I think, just the tip of the iceberg. Things have broken down, and it's very unfortunate. It's the governor who has made it very clear that, he's willing to work with the Democrats. He's never walked away from the table. The Democrats have walked away from the table. It's unfortunate, and we may be in for a long summer. So, like I said, Republicans will continue to work with the majority party to find resolution to the very important matters of the day in Illinois government. Remember, this budget is about the Democrats demanding revenue. That's called taxes. The fact is, the governor's made it very clear there has to be reform before there's any discussion about revenue. I think it's fair. That's what the people of Illinois want. Governor Rauner was elected with more than just Republican votes. It was independent votes, Democratic votes, who told him to come down to Springfield and get this fiscal house in order. I can't, stress that enough. But we are not going to walk out of this building and just say that, okay, we'll pass a tax increase just to placate the majority party. Remember what happened 4.5 years ago when they told people they were going to solve all the world's problems with the tax increase. Nothing happened. Unemployment went up. We brought in $31 billion new dollars. Unpaid bills continued to be unpaid. No structural reform in state government. It didn't work. We're not going to let that happen again. So, questions?
You said that the governor has been the one that always wants people at the table, and it's Democrats who are walking away from compromise. But was Rauner ever at the table? Democrats say he's just talked in talking points, that there have been no actual negotiations. He's barely even called them.
Well, I think the governor, I think, had a very good strategy back earlier in session when he stated that we're going to have working groups on his major reform ideas. And that was to bring the 4 caucuses together, and for the caucuses, all the designees in those groups, to find some common ground of what we can put in a bill form. So the governor has had, the Republicans and the Democrats have been working on this for the last 2 months. And it's unfortunate because we found out just within the last 2.5 weeks that really they weren't interested in anything that was part of the working groups. I don't know why they even bothered to participate in the first place if they knew this was the direction of their respective caucuses in the House and Senate.
So after the working groups, it was clear that wasn't going. Why not have a bunch of leaders meetings between the governor and the 4 of you? That is typical. The Democrats both say, hey, we're willing to come and attend a meeting. Why not go that route if the working groups aren't working?
Well, we met 2 days ago. I think you all were there. And I walked out of there with the belief that everything was back on the table. But things within the last 48 hours clearly have deteriorated again. I'm not sure why. But, we've met more this year than I've met, I think, than we have with any Democrat governor, with my predecessor. I know they barely met with Governor Quinn. But we've met, I believe, 4 times. And I think that we're going to have to do some more of this. I think the problems are going to be solved with the 4 leaders and the governor. And I don't think it's really going to, I don't know what advantage it is to continue to bring members of the legislature, members of the House, back in on a weekly basis. I don't think that's going to move the needle at all.
So why is the Speaker calling people back starting Thursday? What do you see as the strategy, and what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know what the strategy is at all, but I think it's probably going to wear down on a lot of members, particularly his own members, very soon.
Well, what about the attendance by your members in this summer session?
I've encouraged our members to be present, and I believe they will be.
And how's it going to be different from the summer sessions of 2 governors ago?
Precisely. That's a matter. That's a matter of the Speaker's going to have to answer that question to his caucus. And exactly, there's some similarities there, but again, this strategy will wear thin with the members of his caucus. Ours are willing to work. We'll be there whenever the Speaker decides he wants his calls back in. I believe we'll have very good attendance.
Why
Jim,
should
what
people
about
back
this
at
app?
home think that this is just typical parks and gridlock and it talks on both your houses?
Well, the difference is that the governor believes that there must be transformational change in state government. There's no one in the state who disagrees with him, and that's why that Republican was elected. But just to walk out of here and say that we're going to spend more and we're going to tax you more is unacceptable for me, my colleagues at the end of the table, and I think even some members of the majority party as well. But the fact is, like I said, I'm disappointed that the session ended in this fashion. I had great hopes at the beginning of the year, but I just don't think I think the Democrats are not used to having a Republican governor, but one who's pretty strong and pretty, he's made it very clear what he needs. He is chief executive of our state, and he's made it very clear that we need to make significant changes in Illinois government. I would say most Illinoisans agree on that. And the other party has made it very clear that they're more interested in more revenue, more spending. So, but the governor made it very clear, and nothing's going to change, that there's got to be reform before revenue.
Where do we stand now? Where do negotiations start? The last 48 hours, they've, completely railed. Where do we start now?
Well, I think everybody needs to decompress a little bit and go back to their districts. We'll be back here on Thursday. That's not going to change anything. But I would encourage the Speaker and the President of the Senate to engage with myself, the Senate Republican leader, and the governor. And let's do it. That's what our jobs are as leaders. We should be doing it. It's not going to be solved by bringing people in once a week. We'll have it done in time. I believe we'll get there. But I think right now there's some pretty strong personalities in this building that are putting their personalities in front of progress.
What
The
to say
Democrats,
that on?
what were the Democrats going to Senate President said Republicans are just in campaign mode. They're not in legislative mode, and that includes the applets that's going to begin tomorrow.
Look, for the past 20 years, Republicans have been outgunned, outspent, almost to the point of 2 or 3 to 1. I was outspent significantly this past cycle, so they're not used to this. So they can call it what they want, but the fact is, governor's going to do what he's going to do. They're the ones who started. We didn't send out a mail piece. It was a group that was involved that did it, but they've already hit our members twice on negative mail pieces within the last week. So I would suggest that they're the ones who started with the campaign tactics, and I think it's really, it's going to be a long summer. I hope. I think personalities are going to get stronger, and it's not going to move the needle if we're going to continue on, if the Democrats continue on with it.
What exactly did the governor say on Thursday about the
Jim,
about these ads?
The argument that the Democrats passed a budget that's not balanced, which they would acknowledge, but they say the governor's budget isn't balanced. He's counting $2 billion of savings in pension savings, which is phantom. So does that undercut the argument that you can make that the Democratic budget is out of balance?
No, they can't hide behind this. Look, they passed a $4 billion unbalanced budget. And you know what? The governor made a statement of what he wanted in his budget address. But the fact is, they passed it. They passed an unbalanced budget, worse than the one last year. 1.6 billion unbalanced budget from last year. And who bailed them out last March? It wasn't the Democrat majority. It was the Republicans in both the House and the Senate who bailed out the state, bailed out the taxpayers to ensure there was going to be a balanced budget for FY15. We made the tough decisions. A lot of those folks who voted at the end of May on those budget votes couldn't even man up and vote to, resolve that FY15 issue. So I think it's really unfortunate. A lot of them can't take the tough vote. They created it, but we're the ones that cleaned up their mess.
Speaking of that, if I'm a Republican lawmaker, say in your caucus, how valid is the thinking that, gosh, I better do what the governor wants, or else I'm not going to be here very long?
No, it's not valid. We've had some very robust discussions within our caucus, and our caucus believes in reform. And that's, we've got a couple of our members I know took, maybe on a couple of votes took a different position on a couple of votes, but all in all, we are united. We want reform. That's what we were sent down to Springfield to do, not to tax people more and more out of their homes, taxing businesses out of the state. That's not part of our philosophy. We're not going to let it happen.
So there's no campaign cash siren.
One at a time.
So there's no campaign cash siren song.
I would talk to the second floor. I really don't know anything about that.
What did he say?
Your folks could say, thanks for the contribution, Governor. By the way, on that bill you wanted, I can't vote for it.
They have. Some people have. But the fact is, and that's what a strong leader does. That he tries to, he'll make his case. But I think the most important thing out of this session is that the Republicans were unified, both in the House and Senate, on some very difficult issues. And I don't think the Democrats expected that. They expected us to split apart, but we made sure that wasn't going to happen.
Given the foothold that both sides have made, is it realistic to expect that there is going to be any kind of compromise?
I believe we will get there at some point during the summer. Like I said, we're going to go back, we're going to decompress. I will say this, I believe the great majority of Illinoisans are going to say, you guys have not finished your work. Get back to work, get it done.
What's the breaking point then? I mean, all of us here, we're tuned into it. We get the dates. Folks back home, they're on summer break, they're living their lives. I mean, at what point does something have to change?
I mean, there's certain dates you have to be mindful of. You've got a date in July, that's for state payroll. You've got general state aid in August. Those are dates you got to be mindful of. But again, it's about adults sitting down at the table, negotiating a fair and responsible budget for the state of Illinois, also a budget that has attached to it are reforms to our business climate, property tax freezes, the whole list of things that the governor talked about.
The lawmakers have always been able to cobble some kind of solution together. It might not be a complete budget, but you'll get to those pressure dates and maybe something will happen and then you just kind of keep moving on to the next.
Well, they did, because they had a Democrat governor over the last 12 years, but they're not used to having a strong Republican leader on the second floor. That is the problem.
Can you clarify, because there's been some confusion, what exactly did the governor say during the Thursday meeting about these ads that will be forthcoming? What did he say, and what are your thoughts on that? Is that going to help the process or hurt it?
Look, I'm not going to talk about, I'm going to keep the confidence of these meetings, and I'm not going to break that. I know about as much as this ad campaign as you do, so I really have nothing to say about that.
Jim, I've had one Democratic member say, I could vote for a number of these changes the governor wants, but they shouldn't be part of the budget. Can you just talk, is it possible to say, okay, if you give us votes on those, that we'll do them separately, or why combine these?
Because we're just not going to allow a tax increase to occur. Illinoisans aren't going to put up with it anymore. It was passed on false premises 4.5 years ago. I remember it like it was yesterday, that we have to pay the bills. We got to put people back to work. We're going to fix the structural problems of Illinois. That's how it was sold to everybody in the state of Illinois. It's just not going to happen again. And I guess that's the philosophical divide between both parties, is that we believe reform is paramount. And if there's a discussion about revenue, we have to have reforms done first.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
You.